Well, Tuesday's primary was quite a day. A lot of folks, particularly supporters of former President Trump, were understandably elated to see Wyoming Congressman Liz Cheney go down in flames in her primary. Conservative punditry was also celebrating the demise of one of Mr. Trump's most vocal opponents and the ambassador extraordinary of the old guard of the Republican establishment. Now, I hate to rain on anybody's parade here, but if you ask anyone who's ever left public office or the day-to-day block and tackle of politics, either willingly or not, I've been there, all right? They're likely describing and realizing a sense of freedom. Now, for the embattled Congresswoman who went from being the number 3 Republican in House leadership to a defeated pariah in the space of just 18 months, that freedom means a second act. I don't think she's going away. Cheney not only is now unencumbered by her official duties, but the wealthy, heavily networked resident of Tony McLean, Virginia, has a sense of clarity of purpose that could be setting a bit of a trap for Mr. Trump. The left-wing media will doubtlessly be falling all over themselves to give her some sort of contributorship contract, and the book agents are surely to be salivating. But for all those who naively expected her to just disappear, she's likely going to be more vocal and more visible outside of Congress than ever before. Liz Cheney's goal here is not unlike the goal of Democrats, constantly attacking Mr. Trump, goading him into running again. Hit the former president, keep on hitting, and make it all but impossible for him to pass on another chance for a second term, while, of course, driving up his negatives with key voter demographics. Liz Cheney no longer needs to speak to GOP primary voters. She's smart enough to know that they won't respond to her or her message. But more moderate Republicans, independents, and women are still prime targets for her mission and her message to keep Mr. Trump from the Oval Office. Should she decide to actually run for president in 2024, don't laugh it off. Her goal would never be to win the presidency. Her purpose would be very clear. Just like the real intentions, in my view, of the January 6th hearings, the objective would be to make Mr. Trump unelectable. For Democrats, the intention is holding on to the presidency after 4 years of Mr. Biden's seat-filler leadership. For Cheney, it's about a Republican bloodletting that reduces Trump's influence on the party going forward, not winning the White House. Imagine the political circus of the towering former president standing on a debate stage next to Cheney as she calmly attacks him. She shouldn't be dismissed out of hand or insulted or belittled. Yes, a debate where Mr. Trump punches down often gets cheers from his diehard supporters, and they will eat it up with a spoon. But the optics, though, could cut sharply against his standing with independents, suburban voters, and women. If Cheney has learned anything from her father, it's that politics is about winning the elections that happen in November. Both of these people live rent-free in each other's heads, and it makes for great political theater. It also means the temptation for lashing out will be enormous. Ms. Cheney has little left to lose, but for Mr. Trump, the stakes are much higher. The trap for him would be making the mistake of seeing her only as the unofficial spokeswoman of the anti-Trump movement. Like her or not, Mrs. Cheney is a policy wonk. She's smart, she's disciplined. She's a mother of 5. With a calm and substantive delivery, perfected to some degree by her father, she could infuriate Mr. Trump to the point where he ends up reinforcing some of the personality traits that can be a turnoff to many of the voters he needs to stage a comeback. For the vanquished Congresswoman, that may be all she needs to do to exact her own bit of revenge here. The big question isn't whether or not she goes away, she's not going to, or whether or not she runs for office again. It's how Mr. Trump personally handles her. Because, boy, this grudge match, it's far from over.